Last lesson, we spoke about how Yechida, the essence, which is really what Chassidus is, although it isn't any of the particular levels, it is compatible with all the particular levels. And we demonstrated that by showing how Chassidus could enhance each and every one of the four levels of Torah interpretation. So with that in mind, let's continue to chapter 18. Al pi hanal, Tchilas Sif Yud Zayin. According to what we just said in the beginning of chapter 17, which I just reviewed for you just now, Yuvnu divrei Rebbeinu Nisienu, we can now understand the words of our Rebbes, Sha'amru, which they said, Al kama mailes pratia shebechsidis, about the various different virtues or features, qualities of Chassidus, shezeu inyana shel Chassidus, kanal betchilas hasicha, that particular quality is the essence of Chassidus. That's what we were talking about at the beginning of the Sikha. Remember, the very beginning of Kuntras and Yana Shalteis Chassidus, we spoke about different descriptions of Chassidus, and we said, well, those are all specific descriptions, so they can't be the essence. But now we're going to revisit it and say like this. The very nature of an essence is that it doesn't exclude or negate the specific descriptions. To the contrary, it is totally compatible with all the particular levels. And in fact, we're going to say even more than that. Ki af shamaylos eluhein rak mistafes mimohus hachsidus kanal sham. Although each one of these particular definitions of Chassidus is only a manifestation or an expression of the essential idea of Chassidus, like we already said back there, kol mokim, nevertheless, al yodon dafka. Dafka, that's the key word. Through them exclusively, misbates atzmus mahusa is how you really see the essence of Chassidus. Why? Ki hoiro al inyan atzmi. How do you see an essence? Who shemefafeya machdir v'nimtza b'chol hapratim. It is in its permeating, penetrating all the details. Ad, all the way down to what? Leprata yesakotin, the very tiniest granular detail. The canal be'inyan ahefresh ben gilui la'etzem, like we said before, the difference between a gilui and an etzem, a revelation or manifestation, and an essence. A manifestation is a particular manifestation. An essence is not particular, but yet found within all the particulars. So here is the chidush, here's the novel point that we're saying at this point. Not only, like we just said in the previous chapter, is the essence compatible with all the particulars, but really, this is the irony, this is the paradox, if you really want to see the essence, it's in the particulars. That's the point here. How do you see the essence? What's an essence? An essence is in everything. It's not limited to one thing. So therefore, how can you see that quality? When you see how it even comes down to the most granular little details. So it's dafka, like he says, the word dafka. Dafka, it's exclusively when you look at the tiniest details, and the lower the better. The coarser, the better. The more pedestrian, the better. Because that's what proves that it's an essence we're talking about, because essence is not just going to manifest itself in one way or in another way. It's going to manifest itself in all ways, including even the lowest ways. So when it goes all the way out to the lowest, to the farthest reaches, that's where you see that it's really an essence. Let's continue. This all accords to the principle. This is from Sefer Yetzirah. There's a Kabbalistic principle. Shenotz tchilosan b'seifon dafka. That the begins are wedged in the ends. Dafka, specifically. Where can you see the highest of the high? When it comes full circle back to the lowest of the low. Everything's cyclical. The lower you can find Chassidus manifest. Chassidus is the essence, but the lower the manifestation, until something as low as dealing with the animal soul. Remember, we were speaking about that before. Chassidus as a way of transforming the animal soul. The animal soul is low, not like the godly soul. Godly soul is high. But when you see how Chassidus deals with the animal soul, which is low, and even lower than that, not just refining one's animal soul, but refining one's portion in the world. That's even lower. Because now you're not just talking about the outer reaches of the person, you're talking about the outer reaches of the world, outside of the person himself. But when Chassidus can reach that far, that's where you see its essence. So it's a paradox. The essence is not the manifestation, and yet, how do you see that an essence is really an essence? By the fact that it is present even in the lowest level manifestations. I like that. Okay. Therefore, let's continue. The Rebbe says, my father-in-law, my Rebbe, emphasized in many of his talks, any concept you learn in Chassidus, you have to bring it into action. Why? Because when you see the concept brought into action, that's where you see the essence of it. What are we saying? Ideas are abstract. Action is concrete. Right? You know about the rabbi who he did a capital campaign for years. He raised $20 million to build a campus. And on the very last, for years of sleepless nights, permits, builders, craziness, fundraising. And finally he got that building built. And on the last day, there was the ribbon cutting ceremony. And they had just paved the parking lot. And the rabbi came out a minute before the ribbon cutting ceremony. The mayor was going to be there and everything. And the cement was still wet in the parking lot. And these little boys came up from Hebrew school and they were playing tag. And they ran through the wet cement and they tracked it all up. And the rabbi, this is after years of hard work, and now he couldn't hold himself back. He just flipped out. He starts screaming at these kids, "How could you do this?" And at that moment, one of the little boys' fathers pulls up to pick him up from Hebrew school and he says, "Rabbi, didn't you tell us that anyone who gets angry, it's like he worships idols?" The rabbi says, "Yes, but that was in the abstract. This is in the concrete." Ideas are abstract. Action is concrete. Where do you see the essence of Chassidus? Not in its ideas. Of course, it's everywhere. I shouldn't say not in the ideas. But where is it more evident that Chassidus is an essence? It's much more evident that Chassidus is an essence when it's brought into action. Something that can reach all the way down into action is truly present everywhere. If it can only be brought down into the world of ideas, but no further, then you don't see that it's an essence. But where do you see Chassidus as an essence, that it's present everywhere and at every level? When it's brought to the lowest, to the furthest reaches. And that means physical action, concrete action. Okay, let's continue chapter 19. We said in chapter 3 that Chassidus is infinite. But really, all Torah is infinite. Remember I said the Jews are like everyone else, only more so. Chassidus is like all of Torah, only more so. So Chassidus is infinite, but all Torah is infinite. So too, this quality of Chassidus, that the lower it goes, the more you see its infinity. The same thing with all of Torah. When you see how Torah goes down to the lowest realm, meaning the physical realm, and turns it into a vessel for godliness. This applies to all Torah. Of course, mainly it refers to Chassidus, but you can see this with all of Torah, how if Torah is truly infinite, then it's not relegated to the lofty realms. See, we think of infinity as that which is so high, it never stops going, it keeps going high, high, high. Right, well, there's lamayla mayla adin ketz, ulamata mata adin tachlis. Infinity isn't just that which is so lofty, it's also that which is so grounded. It's not just that which is so great that nothing's too great for it. Infinity equally is that which is so low that there's nothing too low for it. Nothing so trivial that escapes its grasp or is too insignificant for it. So where do we see the infinity of Torah? We see the infinity of Torah not just that the higher you go, you never stop finding Torah. The Hashem's wisdom goes to the highest realms and beyond and never stops. But really more so, the fact that you find the relevance of Torah, the lower you go, you keep going and you keep digging and Torah continues to be relevant. What do we mean low? We're talking about human lowness. We're talking about our dark twists and turns of character. We're talking about our personality defects. We're talking about Yetzer Hara. We're going to say the dirty word in a second, Yetzer Hara. Okay, let's continue. This is the meaning of the saying of our sages. Hashem says, look, I created a Yetzer Hara, an evil inclination, but don't worry, I created Torah Tavlin. Tavlin means a spice or a remedy. In the old days, remedies were spices. That's why, by the way, you're not allowed to take medicine on Shabbos, because it's a rabbinical decree lest you grind spices. At any rate, the double meaning of Tavlin will become important later. That's why I'm defining it now as medicine or spice. But let's continue. The l'chayra temua. Seemingly, this saying is strange. B'chol oelamis, elam haza hu hayeser tachtin, shein tachtin lamata mimenu. Of all the worlds, this physical world is the lowest. That's what it says in chapter 36 of Tanya. That it's the tachtin she'ein lamata mimenu. That there's no world lower than the physical world. Ube'elam haza gufa, and in this world itself, hayetzer hara mischaret olav HaKadosh Baruch Hu shebara'oi. Hashem regrets that He created the Yetzer Hara. It says that in the Gemara in Sukkah, that the Yetzer Hara is so bad, Hashem was like, oh man, I shouldn't have done it. Now, obviously, you have to understand what that means, because how can Hashem regret something? He didn't know what He was doing. But Ki'ilu, it's as if He regrets it. And the point is, the physical world is the lowest. And then in the physical world, the Yetzer Hara is the lowest. There's no Yetzer Hara in spiritual worlds. Up in heaven, the souls and angels don't have a Yetzer Hara, right? It's a purely physical phenomenon. It's a phenomenon that plagues physical beings, embodied beings. Now, all the worlds compared to Torah are insignificant, right? Because Torah is infinite, and worlds are created and therefore therefore finite. V'lochein, therefore, parentheses, v'lochein, therefore, kishibach David es ha-Torah b'zeh, shkol ha'elam es ha'liyin v'sachtenim t'lim b'diktik mitzvah anchal shel Torah. Therefore, when David praised the Torah, David was having a hard time in life, and he says, Hashem, your Torah is my escape, because Torah is infinite, the worlds are finite. No matter how big my problem in this finite world is, Torah is bigger. And David said that as a praise to Hashem, nene shal zeh, but he was punished for it. There's a whole letter in the Geras HaKodesh of Tanya about this. So if David was punished for even saying that Torah is greater than all the worlds, well, he said they were greater. He said they're greater. Yeah, but you still compared it to worlds. You compared something infinite to something finite. That's not a compliment. Hadimikol shekain. So how much more so? V'kal v'chaymer shelechayra ein shum makim leimer shabriyas ha-Torah hu bichdei shetiyet tavlin lahayetzer hara. How can you say that the whole purpose of Torah is that it should be a remedy for the Yetzer Hara? You follow what we're saying here? David was punished for even comparing the infinity of Torah to the finitude of the worlds, even though he said it was greater. Now you're going to say that Torah's greatness, its function, actually the definition of Torah is, it's really good for dealing with Yetzer Haras. That's how you... First of all, you're talking about a phenomenon of this world, the physical world, the lowest world. And of phenomena of this world, it's like the lowest of the low, because that's like as bad as you can get. Sorry to use a bad word. And now you're going to attribute Torah's greatness to that? That it gets stains out of your rug? That's what it is? It's strange. Valpia, now move on. But according to our earlier discussion, it is understood. The essence of Torah, which is one with Hashem, misbata dafka, is exclusively demonstrated through this, shitavlin lahayetzahara, that it deals with the Yetzahara. Mekev shakayach letabel es Yetzahara ulahapchei letayv, because its ability to spice the Yetzahara, to improve it, and in fact to transform it to good, humetzadet musiyis baruch dafke. That is a demonstration of Torah's infinity. If Torah can take something bad and turn it into something good, basically into its antithesis, then it's got to be infinite. So, yeah, on one hand, it's like a real like damning with faint praise, I think is the expression, right? You're going to praise Torah by saying it deals with the Yetzirah? Like, come on. And yet, no. You want to see the infinity of Torah? You see its infinity, and that it can get that low, and it can cause a transformation of the lowest of the low into something good. In fact, into the highest of the high. The Yetzirah can be transformed, and it can become an asset. It can actually be a motor that drives the godly soul. So that's where you see the infinity of Torah. Let's continue. The explanation of this is all of the revelations, even the highest revelations, since they are defined as various revelations. So therefore evil, which is the opposite of light and revelation, is basically antagonistic to these revelations. Ubemela, therefore, and they can't transform Ra into Toiv. Rather, what can they do? They can fight against it, and they can even eradicate it, but they can't transform it. They can't transform it. Transforming the enemy into your friend is much more of a radical thing than just eliminating the enemy. So the various levels of light and revelation, goodness basically, it can fight evil, it can even eradicate evil, but it can't transform it. Only Hashem's essence, shehu poshet betachas hapshitos, which is simple in the ultimate sense of simplicity, mushlam kol tziyurim, and it is abstracted from any form. V'gam ein shaykh shum menagedei lov, and therefore nothing can oppose it. It has no particular manifestation, so therefore it has no opposite. It's everything, so how can anything oppose it? Something has to be particular to have an opposite. But if something is the essence of all, it has no opposite. In fact, it is inclusive of all. Ubemela, and therefore, it, the infinity, the essence, can actually take Ra and turn it into Tov. It can turn evil into good. So yes, I get it. You don't want to praise Torah by saying it's a good remedy for something as low as the Yetzirah. On the other hand, where do you really see that Torah is infinity? When it can go to the lowest of the low and turn it into the highest of the high. That's where you see it. The fact that Torah is relevant in heaven, and that in heaven the angels want to learn Torah, that's beautiful, but it doesn't show me the infinity of Torah. Where do I see the infinity of Torah? They can get down deep into the nooks and crannies, and it can be transformative there. Okay, let's finish it off. This is also why, regarding the level of Torah, which is one with Hashem's essence, it says it is a delight before Him. Like a toy, a pleasure thing, a plaything. Why does it say that? What is Hashem's delight? Hashem's delight is the refinement of the dark, is the transformation of dark into light. In other words, they say, what do you get the man who has everything? Penicillin. What do you get Hashem, who's infinite? If Hashem's infinite, He has everything. So what can you give Hashem? What Hashem enjoys is the transformation of dark into light. That's what the infinite enjoys. V'zeu misachekes lefonav. That's what it means. It is a delight before him. Dafka yidei bechinas hishabcha cheshechel enahera. Exclusively through the transformation of dark into light, misachekes shevatayra, the delight, Hashem's delight of Torah, misbatis pinimiusa, that is what brings out its essence. Kameshim yuchedes b'pinimiusa erein tzav baruchu lefanav. That aspect of Torah which is one with Hashem. That's why we say lefanav, in front of Him. Meaning Torah manifests itself on all levels, in all realms. They learn Torah in heaven. They learn Torah down here. There's levels, right? But lefanav, in front of Hashem, meaning what is Torah to Hashem? To Hashem, Torah is this delightful tool through which He experiences the novelty of turning dark into light. I guess that's, if you're infinite, what's amusing? If you have the dark and the light, if you have infinity, so then what is amusing, what is pleasurable, what's a chiddush, what's novel, is when you can turn one into the other. And that's what Torah does. Only Torah can do that. Because without Torah, it's like a 6-foot man with a 5-foot blanket. That's what it is. Without Torah, so we're all like 6-foot tall men with 5-foot long blankets. So you can decide, do you want your feet to be uncovered or do you want your head to be uncovered? I know most people don't sleep with their head covered, but some of us are afraid of monsters, so we do cover our head when we sleep. But if you cover your head when you sleep, the monsters know you respect them and they don't bother you, okay? Anyways. But if you're a 6-foot man with a 5-foot blanket, what are you going to do, right? Okay, you're going to either have your head uncovered, you're going to have your feet uncovered, right? But comes infinity. Infinity can turn the part of the blanket that's not blanket into more blanket. It can turn your dark twists and turns of character into virtues. Why? Because it's infinite. Because it's infinite. And therefore, it's not just a particular manifestation of goodness which can compete with the badness. No. It is infinity which can transform the badness into goodness. And that's where we see the power of Torah. Okay. That's all we're going to cover for tonight. And Mitzvah Hashem, we'll see you next week.